So thank you for for bringing me here. So actually, I could maybe start my talk by introducing myself. So I'm Cheuk, and you can see from the screen that there are all my credentials. So this is like how you could find me. I would be also hanging around on Discord a lot, so feel free to chat to me, and we could also maybe carry on chatting in the channels in the Discord server. And also, I'm doing some tutorials on Twitch. So I actually stream 4 times a week. And also, I know Lace is here, and I'm my co-host for the program today. Earlier at lunchtime is today here. Lace is also, a very active member in the community. So we do a podcast every week about Python. So feel free to have a look there. And so I've already introduced a little bit about myself, and also I'm an enthusiast about open source project, first of all, because I was actually, like, I would tell you a little bit more about myself. I was a data scientist, and that's why I kind of I'm still kind of involved in all these data communities as well. But I really love open source project. I would tell you why, and I would tell you how I become, a contributor to open source project, and now I work full time for an open source software that's Terminus DB. It's a graph database. It's totally open source, and so I kind of I create the Python client, although like it's not just me, it's like a team effort, but I kind of pretty much in charge of it for now. And I really love it because like I can work for open source. That's really like a dream come true. And also, I do a lot of organized meetups and conferences. Especially I like organizing sprints. I would also tell you a little bit more about sprints in this talk, and why I love sprints and why you should also care about the sprints. And again, shameless advertisement about my Twitch channel. So I love teaching Python as well. So that's why I do these tutorials online, and I really like it. So, and yeah, I would first start the talk as how I got started. And I would like to see if I can see the chat, because I would like to see if because like this Zoom thing is a little bit strange for me, and especially when I share my screen, I can't really see where everything's are. So yeah, sorry about that. So if there's any question in the chat, maybe the host, you can you can help me out by shouting the questions to me, and I wanted to.
I'm gonna highlight that for you.
Yeah, great.
Super.
So yeah, I will start by telling you a little bit more about how I got started. So I started my okay, it doesn't. Okay. Yeah, the control is a little bit weird as well with using Zoom. So I'm very good at using my Twitch thing, but not very good at Zoom. Sorry about that. So I started my journey of open source contribution by joining the Python sprints, which now I'm one of the co-organizers. But at that time, it was the founder who organized it is Mark Glacier. I think maybe some of you know him. He's also the maintainer of Pandas, and he's also very enthusiastic about contributing to open source, especially Pandas, of course. But at that time, he wasn't called, like, I think, yeah, when I met him, he wasn't the maintainers yet, and he wasn't in the core team of Pandas, and he basically he was organizing all these sprints and really help promoting contribution to open source. I found it really cool. And at that time, I'm still based in London, and I was started in London, and we just meet regularly to contribute to projects. So the first project that I contribute to is I hope you recognize it, but maybe it's not that that obvious. Is Stage Util. Actually, is some of you may heard about that. Is actually a very commonly used library. So I still remember the sprint was in the Bloomberg office, and it's a very, very nice office. That thank you so much for sponsoring us to have a sprint there, and that's how I started to send my first pull request on GitHub. At that time, I did have a GitHub account, but I never contributed any open source project. I was horrible at Git. I didn't know, I made a lot of mistakes. I don't even know how to run PyTest at that time. I was like, really, really zero. I know nothing. But that's amazing about the sprint is that you got lots of experienced people there. You got I got like the maintainer of Data is there. He was at that time he was working for Bloomberg, but he wasn't based in London. He traveled there to be like mentoring the sprints, and he was super nice. That's Paul. Now he's also a core developer of C Python, and he's like really a very good staff, I would say, and he's very patient, and everybody in there is very patient as well. We also got like more developers that is they're more experienced with all this stuff that on my Git problem, I was like, hey, help me. I got this like merge conflicts. What's going on? I screw up with Git. Can you help me? And and also like my pull request was like brutally reviewed, but it's not that brutally in a way that it's not that they're nasty. It's just like I have some white space at the end, or I have an empty line that I have to remove. I was like, oh my god, this is so tedious. But I learned a lot there, and of course now I'm more experienced. I know how to make a pull request. I try to teach people how to make a pull request as well. I actually do have run like a couple of workshops just for beginners to how to contribute to open source, how to make your first pull request on GitHub, and all this stuff. So that's how I got started. And of course, afterwards, I go to a lot of conference, and a lot of conference like this one. I would say that all the good conferences have a sprint like that is at the end. So PyData, this festival. It also had the sprints on Saturday, and so I go to a lot of them. I went to the one usually after the conference. There's also Hacktoberfest that happened in October. There's also events that could it's a place that people gather to work on open source projects, and usually not all of them, but usually there will be mentors there that could that they will be like maybe maintainer or maybe more senior developers that they would help you answer your questions about that particular project that we work on. So because sometimes if you have it's the first time contributing to a project, that is quite daunting. It's quite daunting that you don't know what to do, or like don't know what to look at, which tickets to take, which ticket is maybe not for you to take because it's too complicated. So so having a mentor there is very good. I will also explain why this is good for the community as well in a in later part of the talk. But among all my experience, I want to mention one that is really worth mentioning because it's also related to minorities. So I believe it was EuroPython in Edinburgh. So it was not last year, so it's the year before. It's 2018. So it was in Edinburgh. It was EuroPython, and I remember we have the 2 sprint day at the end. So before that, there will be like a there will be a bunch of talks. First of all, like most of the conference, I won't say any, but like most of the conference, you will have amazing talks, amazing speakers, but they also have a section that would let the leader of the projects that are going to join the sprints to present their project. And I remember there's this project. I don't know whether you have heard about it. Maybe some of you do, some of you don't. So PyPA, or I say it PyPA, like I don't know whether that's the correct pronunciation of it. So it's actually it's the organization that maintain Py, or project that maintain PyPI. So Warehouse project is the project that actually related to PyPI. So what is PyPI? PyPI is where you pip install your stuff. So so all the stuff that you pip install, the libraries that you pip install, actually they stay in PyPI. So it's Python, registry, industry, industry. Like I forgot the term. I'm bad with names. So Warehouse project is it's the project about that. And so what happened is that at that sprint, that because all the developers present, you can imagine there will be like mainly guys who will be the core maintainer of the project. There's even like C Python core developers there, which like a lot of people want to contribute to C Python because that's really cool. You contribute with the Python itself, and it's super cool. So actually I can now see the chat. I found it, and yeah. Hey, hello everybody. Sorry, I was ignoring the chat for a bit. So so at that time, like all the developers was presenting the project, but it stands out to me that the leader of this project at that sprint is a lady, and Nico, she's one of the co-developers of this warehouse project. And I was like, okay, I got to join this project. I think part of it's because like it sounds like a cool project, it's like it's contributing to the place, to the web, web service. I don't know how to say website that is. Yes, I think so. I am bad with names, so yeah. So thank you for taking up the full name for me. So PyPA is Python Packaging Authority. Yes, that's correct. Thank you. And so yeah, there was the lady who's like presenting, and part of it is because like I'm interested in this project. I think it's super cool. It's like well, C Python is cool, but like this is kind of like the second cool project, right? So that I want to contribute to. And the other thing is like because I really like her. I really like because I can relate to her that like I mean like you can think of like, oh, one day maybe I want to become a maintainer of a popular project as well. And you'll be like, oh my God, I really want to like get more chances to talk to her, to like maybe she can teach me a thing or two. So that's why I was like, okay, I'm joining this project for sure. I tried to talk to her after her presentation as well. So I was like, great. And even though at the end I was not paying attention that for this project actually you have to have knowledge about how web things work. So basically I did not I contributed nothing to the project because I was not a web developer, and like I said before, I work for data science. I work in the data science field, so maybe like contributing to pandas or numpy, I have a crew or two, but contributing to a web related project is kind of like contributing to Django, or like I have no idea how all this web thing work. And it's not even using Django, like the PyPI itself is using pyramid. So I was like, I have no idea what this pyramid, and I don't know how all this like web framework works. So like how am I gonna do? So but like you can see that it's kind of one thing that affects my way how I'm looking at the project is like, oh, whether the maintainer, like who is in the leadership team in the project. So that rings a bell too. So that's actually related to what I'm going to talk about later. So sorry about like kind of I'm talking a lot about like my experience, because this is actually all related to what I'm trying to say by the end of the day. So for the next slide, if I can go back to the slides, thank you. Okay, so yeah, why we need more minority contributors, and why especially I would say that why we need more minorities in the leadership of the open source community. So to look at the the problem this way is that because I think I gave a talk last year that's about the diversity in the theater. So we have a play that involve a lot of because I think the diversity in the theater, they have a problem with racial diversity. So a lot of actors or roles, they are they are Caucasian, they are white people in more kind of rough term. Then it's also people who usually the theater go will be Caucasian, they'll be like upper middle class people go. And so this is a problem. And nowadays like if you're a theater lover like me, that who also happen to base in a big city like London that got a lot of shows every day, not now but before the pandemic, that now things are changing because they try to have plays that try to target on minorities, ethnical minorities, and having actors from a more like ethnical like diversity background to join. So it's the same for like if you want more minority contributors, you have to have or even like more people who is like different from the stereotype majority kind of stereotype people who would be interested in open source. You have to have a leadership that actually is different, is not just one demographic of people who are the leaders in the open source community. So diversity in leadership actually is, well, it's actually a good thing. So that's why a lot of companies try to achieve that, even though how effective they're achieving it, I would have a doubt opinion on it. But but at least there's this study by McKinsey. This is from a source that's in 2018, so it's just a few years ago, that a diversity like a diversity leadership team actually performs better. So the company like if it's a company, of course, one of the reference, the benchmark would be like how financially you perform. And actually, it's like 21% more likely to perform better if you have a diversity leadership team. And also, the benefit of having a diversity leadership is that you would bring in new ideas. So people who is from a cultural background, like different cultural background, they would have different way of looking at things, and it's also it create more debate. So it's like always doubles. You sometimes when you make the decision, if everybody just agree on it, it may be a bad decision. Just like it's just happened that because people don't have a second look on the issues, so that decision could be made like would end up be a bad decision. So actually having a diversity in the leadership is good, and us we want to have more minority contributors, especially like contributors who are because it's like a pyramid, right? If you have more people come in from a minority group as a contributor, then if they encouraged to keep contributing, at the end of the day they will become a very major contributors, and they will become the maintainer or the leadership team, right? So yeah, that's why we actually really need to have more minority joining this workforce to have a very healthy open source community. But while all of these are so ideal, like we all know that it's good, like I hope you at this point more or less agree with me that we want diversity. But there are actually problems. There are actually problems right now. It's not as bad as if you compare maybe 20 years ago, it may not be as bad, but we still have the problem here. I try to find some statistics, try to show you the problems. But one that is just, before I show you the statistic, I talk about my observation as well. So in the past, if you go to, let's say, I don't want to name any like events, but there's, if it's an open source focus event, that you will see that most of the attendees will be I hate to say it, but that's true. At least in Europe and also in North America, would be open source developers would be people picture, okay, a Caucasian guy that's like maybe they could be young, but they could be old, but they would be Caucasian guys. Okay, so that's what people think, right? But I would say that recent year, if you go to an open source focus event, you can see like there's actually some sprinkles of different spectrum of people there. You can see women there. You can see people who are not Caucasian, have a more diverse racial background. You can have actually people who maybe like you. They could, I don't hate to judge people by their look, but some people they're very proud to dress like they are from, let's say, a minority community, like LGBTQ community, and they would you can feel that the diversity is happening there just by who is attending those events. So actually it's like it's improving, but still we still have the problem, and we're far from finished. So statistic. Okay, now like because we with PyData, we love statistics, so I got to talk a little bit like with the data to show you. So this is the state of the October. So this is a statistic that's done by GitHub. So I do believe this is the data for for last year. So you can see the graph is like stop at 2019. So it's last year's data as of last year. So you can see that actually this is where the contributors are from. So this is a picture that actually I grabbed from actually the link is in the slide, so I can maybe as well show you. So yeah, this is the whole survey here. So there's actually a lot of different aspects in there. You can see they do a very general survey about like maybe which language is more popular and all those stuff. But of course, today we got to talk about minorities, so I got to look at it at which region contributors are from. So I'm quite happy that Hong Kong is kind of like growing very fast, because I'm actually from Hong Kong, if you didn't know, so I should have told you. And this is one of the things that I was quite proud of as well, that more open source contributor from Hong Kong, even though I've not been in touch with the tech community there for like ever, I would say, because I started my tech career here in London. But anyway, back to this graph. So So you can see that Asia is growing very well. It goes from maybe like 5 years ago that it was, now it's like, it's kind of ahead of, Europe and North America. It grows very, very fast. But uh, but you see that there's the regions that are still behind. South America. We like the growth is not as good as we hope, even though we know that there are actually more development in technology, for example, in countries like Brazil. And but the open source environment is not growing as fast. Of course, Africa as well. I know that because I really love the PyCon community in Africa, and also I'm paying attention to like all the communities there. But still, I guess still that the struggle. I've been to Namibia. I know that they may not have that good access to the internet to have these resources for some places. But so yeah, you can see that even in Wikipedia that there's actually a statement there saying like Black people and Latinos. So this is not just region wise. This is kind of like racial wise. It's like they are considered to be underrepresented. So if you can actually look at Wikipedia to see the explanation of it. But so there's also it's not just gender, unbalance. There's also kind of racial and regional unbalance there as well. So that's the problem that we have, at least globally, because now everything go online, so you would be more aware of this. Because before you may organize, conferences or organize events in your own region, so you only care about your own region. But now, like we look globally, so there's actually there are regions that maybe is not that many active contributors there. So maybe we should pay more attention to that imbalance. And also, again, like this is the topic that has been discussed many times, so it's not difficult to find articles that talk about that. Women in open source, and this is actually a survey done by this company, Top. And so they have these articles talk about women in open source. So I extract some of their findings there, and so you see that like just 5% of the GitHub user like with 10 contributions. And okay, I'm kind of running out of time, so I would go faster. Don't worry, I would be going faster. So yeah, and you can look at the figures. There's not that many active women contributors in open source. So why is the case? So actually, I won't read this whole thing out. So basically, what I want to say here is that because women don't feel safe in an environment that they contribute online, because, well, like even though I know the Python community is lovely, but generally, like sometimes in open source world, when you do some contribute some code, then people would be like commenting on it, not with a very nice tone, or like in a very judgmental way, or even sometimes brutal. And sometimes it's like, so women don't feel safe online. There's a lot of misogyny there. I don't have time to explain that, but I think I've given talk before talking about like misogynies online, that so women don't feel safe going on the internet. So asking them to contribute only through online is quite difficult, actually. So what the community can do to change that, what the community could actually change this environment and encourage more minority contributions. So first of all, to tackle that problem, we need to create a safe space for everyone. So a code of conduct, even though like I know events usually have code of conduct, but even though if it's just online project, if you have a project, put up a code of conduct and ask everybody to behave, under the code of conduct, even when they comment and anything. Also, we have to put an effort to encourage diversity. Maybe we should, looking at those regions, try to like encourage, maybe having more sprints in those regions. So because sprints, like, if you recall what I said at the beginning of the talk, my experience, I was brought in by sprints. So having a mentor to sprint, having a mentor there to help actually really helps. So maybe try to mentor some minority, people from minority groups to contribute. And also celebrate diversity. Publish your figure if you're like, do some statistic, look at the data, like looking at how things got improved, like the one in the Octoverse, that graph that I show you. You can see Asia is growing very fast. So I hope that other regions could also grow very fast as well, like Asia. So celebrate that win, celebrate that diversity. And the last thing that I want to talk about, that I want to give you, is that what you can do. So this is mainly applies to people who identify themselves as minority, whether you're racial minority, gender minority, whatever. If you are not, if you're like, unfortunately, I am the majority people, what should I do? You can be an ally. You can encourage anyone you know, maybe your colleague, your friends, or even your partner, that that is a minority person, to do this thing. So start contributing, start going to the sprint. Like when I started, I was 0. I told you I don't know how to use Git, right? So everybody can just start from wherever you are, right? Don't worry about that. Try to go to the sprint, get yourself a mentor, get involved. So contribute and contribute. You can even, like, running the sprints, organize the sprints is also a contributing. Mentor people is also contributing. Getting involved, sign up with PSF and to become a voting member is also getting involved, because you would vote for who will become the leadership of the PSF, the leadership of Python community, right? Also become a role model. So if there's a point that you think that I can do that, I can organize this thing, I can be the leader, I can be a maintainer, like I created the project. If you're a minority person, be the role model. Just like, when I met Nicole, it's like, because, oh my God, like you inspire people that is similar to you to start contributing as well. So don't worry, celebrate your success, stand out there, and to share your experience with people. So that's what I would recommend you to do. So I hope I don't horribly overrun, and I'm afraid I don't have time for Q&A, but I will be in the chat. I will be hanging out on Discord. So talk to me there, and yeah, that's it. Thank you for my talk. And this is the last slide that I got to show you. Join the sprint this Saturday. That's a good start. And also there's other sprints that's going to happen in other conferences as well. The dates are there. So pay attention to those. I know that the EuroPython one is free to join the sprint, so you can just register. So that's it. I'll leave you with that. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your talk. Coming from a white dude in tech, I'm very much looking forward to seeing a more diverse crowd at future events. Maybe there's like time for this one single super short question. Are you going to join us for the sprint on Saturday?
Yay! Yeah.
Yeah, you go. Awesome.